Okay, so I'm returning to what I was doing earlier. Uh, let's see. I'm reading it upside from bottom to top in hopes that, and then top to bottom in hopes that it keeps me focused. I don't know why I have trouble with left to right, but whatever. I guess it's boring otherwise. I should be writing things down. Okay. Yoga. Okay. Advaita Vedanta is monistic, single reality, Upanishads. I'll be learning about this as I go up. Realization of the self is Brahman. See, I'll know what that means by the time I'm done. 3.4. Describe the major philosophical systems. In addition to the Vedas and texts such as the epics and Puranas, I'm sorry about the pronunciations. My recording? Yes. Elaborate philosophical systems were developed long ago in India. Among the most prominent of those are Samkhya, Advaita Vedanta, and Yoga. A highly analytical Samkhya system holds that the material universe consists of three essential qualities. They are sattva, fine, illuminated, balanced; rajas, active, passionate; and tamas, heavy, inert, coarse. So we got fine, active, heavy. Fine. Okay. Sattva, rajas, and tamas. I need to hear those spoken. Interaction and tension between the equilibrium of sattva, the activity of rajas, and the resistance to action of tamas govern the development of the world. The interaction of these qualities is a key factor in some Indian systems of diet and medicine. It's very interesting. So that is a quantum physics type of thing, or a physics, I should say. It's not even really a metaphysics. It's a physics. Material universe. Samkhya. Samkhya. Whatever. I'll look that up later. So I'm going backwards. No, I didn't want to delete that. How do I put it back? Paste U. Aha. I wanted J. Supreme as a person. He is often associated with his consort Lakshmi, whose Sakta's worship as a goddess in her own right. Rama and Krishna are generally understood to be incarnations of Vishnu in earthly forms. I can't believe I'm going to be tested on this. Open book or not, Vaishnavas worship the god Vishnu, beloved as the tender, merciful deity. Vishnu has been worshipped since Vedic times and came to be regarded as the supreme as a person. I see. It's a page number. See backwards. Shaivas worship the god Shiva, a personal, many-faceted manifestation of the attributelessness supreme deity. Shiva has various Shaktis, or feminine consorts. He is often shown with his devoted spouse Parvati. Lingams, naturally occurring or sculpted cylindrical forms, have been used in the worship of Shiva since antiquity in India. Shivism encompasses traditions that have developed outside Vedic-based Brahmanism, including sects such as Lingayats, who wear a stone lingam in remembrance of Shiva as the one undivided being. Of all the deities worshipped by Hindus, there are three major groupings. The Shaktas worship some form of the goddess whose great power is called Shakti. Some of these Shaktis follow a Vedic path. The general term Devi may be used to refer generally to the goddess in all her forms, understood as the Supreme Divine Mother, the totality of all the energy of the cosmos. From ancient times, worship of the divine female has been associated with worship of nature, particularly trees and rivers. Ooh, I like that. Trees and rivers. Sacred texts called tantras instruct worshippers how to honor the feminine divine. The Divine Mother, trees, nature's rivers. I like that stuff. Trees, nature's rivers. Good. Compare and contrast Shaktas, Shivas, and Vaishnavas. I don't know if I can. But hopefully I'll be able to make tables of these later. Right now I'm just going through it. I'm going to go through it backwards and then I don't know what next. Whoa. The epics in Puranas arose after 500 BCE and popularized knowledge and devotion through mythos and legends. In contrast to the rather abstract depictions of the absolute reality in the Upanishads, the epics and Puranas represent the Supreme as a person, or rather as various human-like deities, with richly detailed stories about their lives and relationships. Two great epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, represent the Supreme usually as Vishnu, who intervenes as on Earth during critical periods in the cosmic cycle. The Puranas list the many ways that Vishnu has incarnated in the world when dharma, moral order in the world, is decaying, to help restore virtue and defeat evil. For instance, Vishnu is said to have incarnated great avatars such as Krishna and Rama to help uplift humanity. The major Puranas are also based on theologies of Shiva and Shakti. And that was to answer the question, illustrate how the epics and Puranas represent the Supreme. I think because I'll be doing this a while, I'm going to share this on Facebook. And because, not that I expect people to be watching, but I just feel like I should be contributing somehow to the greater good. Why did you have to update the browser? I really don't like that. Because it means things that are memorized on the browser have to be done all over again. It's such a drag. Yeah, what am I broadcasting? I'm broadcasting the same page. Good. So if you don't mind, you can't see me. But I'm just going to take this live stream, share it on a place where I'm keeping some notes, and it's to make things easier for me to, well, I'm not even sure why. It just feels like the right thing to do. Okay. So there we go. So now I find the group. Give me just a moment. Um, okay, now I'll post it on X because why not? Okay, so now let me get back to it. See, this is me procrastinating. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. I posted it to places for anybody interested. Okay, illustrate how the epics and Puranas represent the supreme. Uh, Knowledge, devotion, myths, legends, human-like deities. They're Ramaya and Mahabharata represent the Vishnu. Okay. The Upanishads. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce any of these. The Upanishads, a part of the Vedas that focuses on philosophical questions, contains teachings from highly realized spiritual masters reserved for advanced seekers of spiritual truth. The Vedas are a revered collection of ancient sacred hymns praising the deities and exploring the nature of the cosmos. According to Orthodox Hindus, the Vedas are not the work of any humans. They were revealed to sages and transmitted orally from teacher to student. They are considered Shruti texts, those which have been revealed rather than written by mortals. The Rig Veda, the oldest and the first of four collections of which the Vedas are composed, praises and implores the blessings of the Devas, controlling forces of the universe, of the cosmos, deities who consecrate every part of life, the Devas. Behind all these myriad aspects of divinity, the sages perceived one ultimate unseen reality that ceaselessly creates and sustains everything. Interesting. Um, I'm not going to remember these, but I'm being exposed. The origins and antiquity of the Vedas, the religious texts often referred to as the foundations of Hinduism, are still unknown, but most scholars agree that they were composed and redacted over a period of roughly 1,000 years, 1500 BCE to 500 BCE. Vedas, sacred hymns, deities, the Rig Veda, oldest, praises, jivas, chants, philosophical. I suspect I'll have to connect things like Vedas, sacred texts, Upanishads, philosophical. Yeah, I'll probably have to make shorthand for each of these. What's a Veda? Oh, religious text, so it's like Bibles, but I got it. Okay. And I'll be right back. Gotta get a drink. No, I don't. A drink will wait for me. Okay, these are references, so I can skip over these. Now, so, and I'm an editor, I can do this, which you can't do in a textbook normally. 9/12/2024, 8/27. All right, we're going on. PM. Form. Upanishads, the philosophical part of the Vedas. Vaishnava worship of Vishnu or one of his manifestations, such as Krishna. Vedas revered ancient scriptures. Yoga. Oh. Practices for union with the self. Oh, I see. Aha, I see what I'm looking at. Yeah, so these are words. Yoga, practices for union with the true self. Vedas, revered ancient scriptures. Vaishnava, worshipper of Vishnu or one of his manifestations, such as Krishna. Upanishads, philosophical, yeah, part of the Vedas. Tantra, see, engaging is helping. Tantra, sacred esoteric text, spiritual practices honoring the divine in female form. Sutra, terse spiritual teaching. Shakti, female divine power. Secularism, the constitutional principle of not giving favored status to any religion. That's good. Sanskrit, the ancient language of the Vedas. Sannyasin, renunciate spiritual seeker. Sannyasin, renunciate spiritual seeker. Renunciate? Well, I'll find out when I get up to that part. Samsara, the worldly cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Samsara. So many people would be Christianing right now. Am I pronouncing? Shakta, worshipper of the divine in female form. Rishi, a sage. Shiva, worshipper of Shiva. Moksha, liberation. Prana, the invisible life force. Puja, spirit ritual worship. Reincarnation. After death, rebirth is a new life, and this is a new page. Let's see. Chakra, a subtle energy center in the body. Dalit, oppressed, name used by some people formerly considered untouchables. Oh, Dalit, oppressed, yes. Visual contact with the divine. Darshan. Deva, a deity. Dharma, moral order, duty, righteousness, religion. Dharma, moral duty, moral order, duty, righteousness, religion. Guru, spiritual teacher. Kali Yoga. The present degraded era. Kali Yuga. Present degraded era. Kali Yuga? I'll find out. Karma, our actions and their effects on this life and the lives to come. Mantra, a sound or phrase chanted to evoke sound vibration of one aspect of creation or praise a deity. Moksha. I'm going to save this as a wrapped version. I'll call it wrapping. Yes. Yes, it's changed the name. Good. Asana, yogic posture. Ashram, a usually ascetic spiritual community of followers gathered round their guru. Gather round their guru. Gather round your guru in the ashram. Atman, individual soul, avatar, an incarnation of a deity. Bhakti, intense devotion to a personal manifestation of supreme reality. Brahman, the supreme reality. Brahmin, priest or member of the priestly class. Caste, originally an occupational category, hereditary classes to which people are born. Occupational, that is your caste. Interesting. Key terms. I've finished the key term section. So these are words I should be saying. Let's save. I want to save as I go. Is it S? Yeah. Here we go. This is the actual chapter now. Going up. Hinduism is a living organism liable to growth and decay and subject to the laws of nature. It is and is not based on scriptures. It does not derive its authority from one book. It takes a provincial form in every province. The inner substance is retained everywhere. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Smritis, authoritative but non-revealed scriptures, the Puranas, and the Itihasas, historical epics, did not arise at one and the same time. Each grew out of the necessities of particular periods. Hinduism abhors stagnation. Every day we add to our knowledge of the power of Atman, and we shall keep on doing so. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of independent India, asserted that Hinduism's special identity lies in its inclusiveness, dynamism, and continuing search for truth. So that was a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. How nice. Now these look like a list. I will format this list first. Yeah, let me format this list first. And I'll get myself a little drink. Then I'll justify them. I'll get a drink. There we go. This keeps me occupied. I feel like I'm accomplishing something. Okay, so I am right now getting a drink. Beautiful, cool night. Make sure you wear your sweater. You don't want to get cold. Yeah. Stay warm. Yeah. At least another 2 months. Yeah. Well, that's all right. Okay. No definite set of philosophical concepts, unlike other religions. Unlike other religions, we have no definite set of philosophical concepts. There may be many gods worshipped, and there are Hindus who do not believe in worshiping idols. Recognition of many ways or means to salvation, for belief in rebirth and pre-existence, acceptance of belief in an endless succession of vast periods of creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the world, a spirit of tolerance and willingness to understand and appreciate others' points of view, based on the realization that truth is many-sided. Well, I wish... Now, okay. Acceptance of the Vedas as the highest authority in religions and philosophical matters. So, no definitive set of philosophical concepts, however, the Vedas is the ultimate authority. Okay, I got you. The Indian Supreme Court has formally defined Hindu beliefs in a way that affirms universality rather than exclusiveness. Drawing upon the works of Hindu and Western scholars, the court defined the basic concepts of Hinduism. Ah, Supreme Court. Okay, they have to do that. Muslims against each other, nevertheless. Oopsie. Tensions also continue to run high between Hindus and Muslims in Kashmir, where efforts to achieve Kashmiri independence from India often pits Hindus and Muslims against one another. Nevertheless, although tensions between religions exist in many regions of India, what predominates is the spirit of accommodation, with which the various communities have lived side by side for hundreds of years. Well, you don't want things to seem too bad in your textbook there. Balkrishan Naik is alluding to perceptions that Christians are trying to convert Indians from Hinduism to Christianity by offering social services for the poor, such as schools and hospitals. An estimated 50% of all Christians in India were formerly of low caste or origin. Opposition to Christian conversion has sometimes turned quite violent, as it did in 2008, when the homes of thousands of Indian Christians in the state of Orissa were burned, apparently by Hindu extremists. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah, well, it happens. We feel that Dharma-based cultures are inclusive, not exclusive. We want to respect all as they are, that they should preserve their identity and cooperate with each other. Diversity is their beauty, diversity is growth. It should be promoted, not suppressed. Why does the conflict come? A human being says, mine alone is the best and others are not. I want that others should follow me. They should lose their identity and they should get submerged in my identity. That egoistic, aggressive attitude is the main reason for struggle. Pride and egotism should be replaced with love, with affection, gratefulness, and sympathy. Well, that's a great concept. Where did it come from? The Vishva Hindu Parishad. Vishva Hindu Parishad is now pursuing a dual goal of reviving Hinduism in India and the diaspora, while at the same time encouraging respect for all religions. The definition of a Hindu, according to VHP guidelines, includes this quality. A Hindu is one who evinces equal respect and adoration to all the religious and spiritual creeds and sects founded from time to time by great divine souls of sublime noble character. Yeah. Okay. So I see it. They're shooting for something. It's a goal. IS is a mystery way, 'cause I don't know what they're talking about until they talk about it. Political affiliates of the RSS, particularly the BJP, have become very powerful in Indian politics. It was the leading party in the central government in power in 2002. One coach of a train carrying volunteers who were seeking to illegally construct a new temple in Ayodhya caught fire in the state of Gujarat and was surrounded by a predominantly Muslim mob. Inside the coach, the 59 Hindus burned to death, a horror that was followed by terrible interreligious violence. Perhaps 2,000 people, most of the Muslims, were killed by mobs, while local officials did little to stop them. In the 2014 elections, the BJP won a majority of the seats in the Indian parliament, and Narendra Modi, who was chief minister when the riots took place, became prime minister of India. Oh, that's how he came to power. Modi's critics have argued that he did not do enough to stop the riots. His 2014 campaign focused more on economic development than Hindutva. In a television interview, he once explained that Hindutva means that all dharmas are equal, and cited the Rig Vedic verse that truth is one, they just call it by various names. Some critics worry, however, that a BJP majority government may at some point seek to implement a less accommodating form of Hindutva. Observers also point out that Modi comes from a lower caste, and that his rise to power is indicative of changing attitudes in India. I see. A major focus of these activities has been the small town of Ayodhya, which according to Hindu mythology is the birthplace of Lord Rama. According to Hindutva belief, Babur, the Muslim Mughal ruler, had the main temple commemorating Rama's birthplace torn down and the Babri Mosque built in its ruins. Firm believers attempted to take matters into their own hands, redress this perceived insult in their holy place. In 1992, some 200,000 Hindus managed to enter Ayodhya and tear down the Babri Mosque. Wow. This act was followed by a spate of Hindu-Muslim violence throughout India. In 2010, a High Court ruling divided the disputed land into three parts, two for Hindu groups and one for the Sunni board managing mosques, a decision that brought temporary peace but may be contested. Yeah. You do what you gotta do. Wow. That was a lot of years there, 30 years of fighting there. Okay. The RSS maintains tens of thousands of branches in the Indian villages and cities, where Hindu men and boys meet for group games, songs, lectures, and prayers. To the Vishnu nation, Hindu nation, conceived as the Divine Mother. Leader of the RSS publicly urged throwing all Christian missionaries out of India and has asserted that all Indians are actually Hindus. There's estimated to be 12,000 RSS schools in India where children are educated according to the Hindutva agenda. Oh, I see. So it's nationalism. Secularism is officially established by India's constitution, which recognizes the multicultural, multi-religious fabric of the country and does not confer favored political status to any religion. But according to what could be called Hindu fundamentalists, in the name of secularism, people have been robbed of their religious values and identity. The RSS, the religious organization Vishva Hindu Parishad (VHP), and political parties such as the Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP) say they are trying to restore. Okay. Very often you see this push and pull, but it can get pretty bad. Okay. As Hinduism is reaching around the world, some Hindu academics and organizations in the diaspora, especially Dharma Academy of North America, which is initiating a new field known as Dharma Studies, are defining our identity in broad terms as being part of a process of interrelated development across the Dharma traditions that arose on the Indian subcontinent. At the same time, some Hindu groups within India are narrowing their identity and giving Hinduism a nationalistic thrust. In particular, the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, arose early in the 20th century, espousing Hindu cultural renewal in order to combat the ills of modernity, and return to an idealized past referred to as Rama Rajya, a legendary kingdom of Lord Rama, where Hindu virtues were maintained by a perfect ruler. This movement gave organized expression to the ideals of V.D. Savarkar, who wrote of an ancient Hindu nation and Hindutva, excluding Muslims and Christians as aliens in India, in contrast to historical evidence that what is called Hinduism is a non-centralized, evolving composite of variegated ways of worship. Yeah, it's a purism. I see. And this is the section of Hindu identity. Okay, interesting. So, up I go. Some contemporary gurus are also enjoying great global popularity. One of the most famous at present is Mata Amritanandamaya, a seemingly tireless motherly saint from South India who takes people from all walks of life into her arms. In large-scale gatherings around the world, this hugging saint may embrace up to 70,000 people at a stretch. Through the night and the next day, she encourages her, quote, children to find personal solace and compassion for others through worship of the divine in any form. Many of her followers regard Amma herself as the personification of the Divine Mother. Sweet. Good for you. Another success story is ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In 1965, the Indian guru A.C. I'm not going to try it, arrived in the United States, carrying the comforts, asceticism, and bhakti devotion of Sri, a man after, oh, this is all screwed up. Okay, this would be two columns that squished into one. So I'm going to skip that. Maybe this one's okay. Another example of an exported movement is the Netherlands-based Transcendental Meditation, TM movement, begun by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, died in 2008, in the 1960s. For a fee of thousands of dollars, his disciples teach people secret mantras and assert that repeating the mantra for 20 minutes twice every day will bring great personal benefits. These range from enhanced athletic prowess to increased satisfaction with life. By paying more, advanced practitioners can also learn how to fly, that is, how to take short hops into the air while sitting cross-legged. The organization claims a success rate of 65% in ending drug and alcohol addiction, and asserts that groups of yogic flyers temporarily lowered crime rates in Washington, D.C., and conflicts in West Asia, claims that have not been independently verified. Although not as visible as in its heyday, TM is an extensive global organization complete with luxurious health spas in Europe, a Vedic theme park near Niagara Falls in Canada, Vedic-based development project in Africa, colleges, universities, and Maharishi schools of management in many countries, an ashram for 10,000 people in India, and ongoing plans to build large peace palaces near cities around the world where people can receive training in TM, and thus help bring peace in the collective unconsciousness of the world through the Maharishi effect. Hinduism has also been spread globally by gurus who have exported its teachings. For the past 100 years, many self-proclaimed gurus have left India and developed followings in other countries. Some were discovered to be fraudulent, with scandalous private behavior, or motives of wealth and power. Despite increased Western wariness of gurus, some of the exported movements have continued to grow. Devotees of Lord Krishna ecstatically sing his praises. Many non-Indians discovered Hinduism by reading Autobiography of a Yogi. In Western settings, by book describes his intriguing, it's two columns mixed together, spiritual experiences with Indian gurus and fashion. NANO traveled to the United States and began a movement. I'm just going to skip this. It's all screwed up. Nevertheless, Hindu philosophy and practices have left indelible imprints on other cultures. To cite a few examples, in the United States, 19th century transcendental poets Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman were deeply influenced by Hindu texts, attracted to Upanishadic conceptions of ultimate reality as well as Hindu mythology. Swami Vivekananda, I've heard of him, had a major impact when he addressed the 1893 Parliament of World Religions in Chicago. After the band, the Beatles encountered Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in Rishikesh in the 1960s. Many Hindu references began to make their way into Western popular culture. Teachers of yoga and meditation have spread these practices widely, often as self-help and physical culture techniques divorced from their spiritual roots. Interesting. In the United States, this I'll be tested on. Okay, let's make it where I can see it. Okay. Hindus in the diaspora, along with other, I'm a terrible reader, have you noticed? Along with many other people of Asian heritage, have sometimes experienced discrimination, disenfranchisement, violence, temple destruction, and forced conversions by members of majority communities. Even within Asia, some problems have occurred in areas where Hindus are in the minority, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia. In the West, people of Abrahamic religions have historically had difficulty in understanding the complexities of Hindu traditions, which are different from their own, and have sometimes decried them as evil or demonic. In 2001, there was an attempt to ban the Bhagavad Gita. Why can't I pronounce it? I know how it's pronounced. Bhagavad Gita. I can't do it. Wow. I'm having a brain freeze. Okay. In Russia, where it was alleged that the scripture promotes social discord and hatred of non-Hindus. There have also been instances of deep insults to Hindu sensitivities by Western companies that manufacture products such as footwear or toilet seats featuring pictures of Hindu deities. Well, that's not very nice. Why would you do that? That's rude. There's a section, Global Hinduism. I see. Hinduism is also experiencing vibrant growth beyond the Indian subcontinent, particularly among expatriates and partly among converts from other faiths. During the British Empire, Hindus, along with other Indians, were sent as indentured laborers to other parts of the empire. After India achieved its independence in 1947, in post-World War II period, waves of Indian laborers and professionals left India to work abroad, rebuilding war-torn areas, developing stunning modern communities on the former sands of the Gulf states, and providing skilled services such as medicine and information technology. Hindus now live in more than 150 countries. Hindus have gathered abroad. They have often tended to develop a heightened awareness of their Hindu identity, as they find themselves in the minority. Many have pooled their resources to build temples in order to preserve their traditions and their identity. But since Hinduism is so multifaceted, there have been disagreements over which deities should be worshipped in the temples. There has thus been a trend towards a less sectarian, generalized version of Hinduism, as well as some adjustments in traditions to the new geographic and cultural environments to which Hindus have moved. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Religion and practice. Dharmic principles. The Swadhyaya movement. I have a feeling this is not going to work. Today there are said to be 20 million people in. Yeah, this is two columns that are mixed together. I'm not going to read this. I'll read it in the book. In addition to religious reform movements, Hindu tradition is currently yeah. Within India, Hinduism has also been influenced by reform movements such as Brahmo Samaj and Arya Samaj. The former defended Hindu mysticism and bhakti devotion to an immanent deity. The latter advocated a return to what it saw as the purity of the Vedas, rejecting image worship, devotion to a multiplicity of deities, priestly privileges, and popular rituals. What we want is neither happiness nor misery. Both make us forget our true nature. Both are chains, one iron, one gold. Behind both is the Atman, who knows neither happiness nor misery. These are states, and states must ever change. But the nature of the soul is bliss, peace, unchanging. Bleh. Do not care for doctrines, do not care for dogmas or sects or churches or temples. Vivekananda was a brilliant. They count for little compared with the essence of existence in each person. Spiritual teacher who brought, I see, it's wrapped, two different columns wrapped together. Can't do it. Ramakrishna worshipped the divine through many Hindu paths, as well as Islam and Christianity, and found the same one in them all. Intoxicated with the one, he had continual visions of the Divine Mother and ecstatically worshipped her in unorthodox, uninhibited ways. For example, he once fed a cat some food that was supposed to be a temple offering for the Divine Mother, where she revealed herself to him in everything, including the cat. He also placed his spiritual bride, Sarada Devi, in the chair reserved for the deity, honoring her as the great goddess. Well, it's a cat, of course. I seek not, good mother, the pleasures of the senses. I seek not fame, nor do I long for those powers which enable one to do miracles. What I pray for, O good mother, is pure love for thee untainted by desires, love without alloy, love that seeketh not the things of the world, love for thee that welleth up unbidden out of the depths of the immortal soul. In addition for being made a focus for political unity, Hinduism itself was revitalized by a number of spiritual leaders. One of these was Ramakrishna, 1836-1886, who was a devotee of the Divine Mother in the form of Kali. Eschewing ritual, he communicated with her through intense love. He experimented with many different forms of religious practice. These brought him spiritual powers, spiritual insight, and reportedly a visible brilliance, but he longed only to be a vehicle of pure devotion. Many other Indians, however, sought to revitalize and, in some cases, change Ramakrishna, the great aspects of religious practice that had come under criticism, rather than abandon. Okay, these are two paragraphs mixed together. Can't do it. As the Mughal Empire went into decline, European colonists gradually moved in. Ultimately, the British dominated, and in 1857, India was officially placed under direct British rule. Christian missionaries set about attempting to correct abuses they perceived in certain Hindu practices, such as widow burning and the caste system. But they also taught that those who were being educated in their schools, Hinduism was, quote, intellectually incoherent and ethically unsound. Some Indians believed them and drifted away from their ancient tradition. Hinduism did not develop in India in isolation. Everything functioning still? Yes. Christianity may have put down roots in India as long ago as 70 CE. Muslims began taking over certain areas beginning in the 8th century CE. During the 16th and 17th centuries, a large area was ruled by the Muslim Mughal empires. Islam and Hinduism generally coexisted despite periods of intolerance, along with Buddhism and Jainism, which had also grown up within India. Indian traders carried some aspects of Hinduism to Java and Bali, where it survives today with a unique Balinese flavor. Tasty. Why is Hindu identity an important issue in modern India? Hinduism in the modern world. Aha, it's like a section. Similarly, Mataji Nirmala Devi was regarded by her devotees as an incarnation of the primal Shakti. She is now venerated as divine by her followers in more than 200 countries. And as we shall see later, Amritanandamayi Amma is one of the world's most famous contemporary saints, with millions of followers and extensive charitable activities to take care of her children. Excuse me. Oh, is this more scrambled eggs? Maybe not. Hinduism has thus given rise to many renowned female spiritual leaders over the millennia. Among the most famous of recent times was Anandamaya Ma, Blissful Mother, a guru from Bengal who was born in a very poor Orthodox Brahmin family. Often seen sitting in a state of spiritual absorption as a child, but nevertheless scrupulously carrying out all of her domestic duties. She was married at a young age to a kind young man. Their marriage was never consummated, for when he tried to approach her, he received a powerful electric shock. Oof. When she was 20 years old, she began spontaneously adopting advanced yogic postures and reciting ancient Sanskrit texts and mantras she had never learned from any human teacher. She was suspected of being possessed, and exorcists were called, but they were unsuccessful in stopping her spiritual expressions. One exorcist even experienced severe pain until Ma healed him. An inner voice told her that the power manifesting in her was, quote, your Shakti. You are everything. Ma later explained, I realized that the universe was all my own manifestation. When she was 22, she was guided to give herself mantra initiation, thus adopting the roles of both guru and disciple. People began flocking to her for darshan, healing, and spiritual counseling. Detached from worldly concerns and thoughts, she ate very little and ultimately stopped feeding herself, so her devotees tried to hand-feed her. Following only the inner guidance, in total disregard for cultural and religious mores, especially restrictions on women, she sometimes gave brilliant teachings in Vedanta philosophy, even though she was nearly illiterate. Traveled unpredictably, attracted stray animals by her aura of love, and reportedly manifested cities' spiritual powers, such as appearing in several places at the same time, changing her size, helping people at distant locations, multiplying food, and transforming people by her joyous and peaceful presence. Ultimately, millions of people became her followers, regarding her as the goddess in human form. But she reportedly did not consider herself a guru, nor did she recognize anyone as her disciples. She only saw herself everywhere. That was very interesting. Who was that? Anandamaya Ma. Interesting, and she's very recent. Oh, I know Tantric. Ooh. The Tantric traditions and texts suggest that there have been many women adepts who have transmitted Tantric doctrines. There are references, for instance, to yoginis, who are either solitary ascetics known for their enlightened wisdom, or consorts of male Tantric masters worthy of the same respect as the male gurus. In Tantric literature, worshippers are encouraged to identify with the inner Shakti as the universal goddess. This is considered easier and more natural for those who are already in women's bodies. Some of the more remarkable Hindu teachers today are women who understand themselves as embodiments of the goddess and see all people as their children. A more renowned female saint in the Bhakti tradition was Mirabai. Like many women saints, she was at first considered mad, as well as socially deviant as she danced on the streets in ecstasy, describing herself as defiant of worldly censure or family shame. Behavior considered totally unfitting for her status as a Rahastani princess. But her songs, like those of Andal and Akka Mahadevi, continue to be widely sung in rural India. After escaping from a forced marriage, the beautiful Akka Mahadevi lived alone as an ascetic amid the streams and mountains of a holy area linked with Shiva. Her rejection of the life of a traditional wife was so her rejection of the life of a traditional wife. I love how that goes together. Her rejection of the life of a traditional wife was so total that she lived naked. Her rejection of the life of a traditional wife was so total that she lived naked. She was an early advocate of the equality of women and of women's right to spiritual and social liberation. I have fallen in love, O mother, with the beautiful one who knows no death, knows no decay, and has no form. Fling into the fire the husbands who are subject to death and decay. Fan of the husbands. Akka Mahadevi was a 13th century Bhakti poet, saint in the radical South Indian Virashaiva movement, which rejected Brahmin patriarchy and casteism. Its founder, Basava, had renounced his Brahmin identity and taught that women, because of their creative and nurturing powers, and people of lower castes, because they are not constrained by wealth and worldly power, are closer to God than Brahmin males. This movement gave rise to many great women saints. Akka Mahadevi was so devoted to Shiva that she refused marriage to any man. There have been many women who have left their prescribed family duties and achieved such high levels of spiritual realization, they have been revered as saints and gurus. The Bhakti approach to the divine produced many such women. For example, Andal was a South Indian Alvar, a group known for their poet mystics. Andal was so overcome with love for Vishnu, she refused to marry anyone else. Her hagiography, idealized biography of the life of a saint, maintains that she merged into the deity after being mystically married to him. Many Vaishnava temples thus have an image of Andal next to that of Vishnu. Oh. Nevertheless, many women in contemporary India have been well educated and have achieved high political positions. Taking a drink, excuse me. As in the past, women are also considered essential to the spiritual protection of their families. They are thought to have special connections to the deities. Married women carry daily worship of the deities in their homes, and also fasts and rituals designed to bring good health, prosperity, and long life for their family members. In early Vedic times, women were relatively free and honored members of Indian society, participating equally in important spiritual rituals. But because of social changes, by the 19th century, wives have become like servants, the husband of the husband's family, with expectations that a girl will take a large dowry to an Akka Mahadevi, a saint who boy's family in a marriage and arrangement. Girls are such an economic burden that lived alone and naked, and the female babies. Oh, it's mixed up. Okay. Mixed up columns. I can't read it. Women were not traditionally encouraged to seek liberation through their own spiritual practices. A woman's role is usually linked to that of her husband, who takes the position of her god and teacher. For many centuries, there was even the hope that a widow would choose to be cremated alive with her dead husband in order to remain united with him after death. I have heard of that. In the ideal marriage, husband and wife are spiritual partners. Marriage is a vehicle for spiritual discipline, service, and advancement towards a spiritual goal. Men and women are thought to complement each other, although the ideal of liberation has traditionally been intended largely for the male. At the level of spiritual ideals, the female is highly venerated in Hinduism compared to many religions. Women are thought to make major contributions to the good earthly life, which include dharma, order in society, marital health, wealth by bearing sons in a patriarchal society, and the aesthetics of sensual pleasure. Women are auspicious beings mythologically associated with wealth, beauty, splendor, and grace. As sexual partners to men, they help to activate the spiritualizing life force. No ceremonial sacrifice is complete unless the wife participates as well as the husband. Women's religious roles. I see. That was the section. Bridges are constructed over the Kumbh Mela. Pilgrims are huge processions of ascetic sadhus from the various Ganges rivers. Messed up columns again. Every few years, millions of Hindus of all persuasions gather for Kumbh Mela. It is held alternatively at 4 sacred spots where drops of the holy nectar of immortality are said to have fallen. On one day in 2013, in what has been recorded as one of the largest ever gatherings of human beings for a single purpose, an estimated 30 million people amassed at the point near Allahabad where the Yamuna River meets the sacred Ganges and the invisible Saraswati, the sacred river that dried up long ago, but is still considered invisibly present. There, they took a purifying bath in icy waters on the most auspicious date as determined by astrologers. Take a drink here. Initially more solemn is a day of fasting and night of keeping vigil to earn merit with Shiva. During the ascetic part of the observance, many pilgrims go to sacred rivers or special tanks of water for ritual bathing. Shiva, lingams, and statues are venerated, and the faithful stay awake throughout the night, chanting and telling stories of their Lord. Diwali, the happy 4-day festival of lights, is 20 days later on the night of the new moon. Variously explained as the return of Rama after his exile, the puja of Lakshmi, goddess of wealth who visits only clean homes, and the new year of those following one of the Indian calendars, is a time for tidying business establishments and bringing financial records up to date, cleaning houses and illuminating them with oil lamps, wearing new clothes, gambling, feasting, honoring clay images of Lakshmi and Ganesh, and setting off fireworks, often to the point of severe air pollution. In different parts of India, the first 9 or 10 days of Ashvina, the lunar moon corresponding to September or October, are dedicated either to Durga Puja, in which elaborate images of the many-armed goddess celebrate her powers to vanquish demonic forces, or to Dasera, which marks Rama's 9 nights of worshipping Durga before killing Ravana on the 10th day. The theme of both Durga Puja and Dasera is the triumph of good over evil. Holi is this is all mixed up, I bet. Holi is the riotously joyful celebration of the death of winter, and at the end of okay, not going to try. Backed by a variety of legends, Holi is celebrated with such vigor that some revelers take it as an excuse for drunken and destructive behavior. Furthermore, environmental groups are now pointing out that the industrial dyes used for holy power can be quite toxic. However, like those who are trying to educate the public not to shoot off fireworks on Diwali to avoid extreme air pollution, these groups have had little effect on people's exuberant, carefree ways of celebrating the Hindu holidays. The jolliest of all Hindu festivals. I'm sure I'll see a video which will explain all of this Holi. Oh, festivals. I knew this was a long chapter. I'm happy I'm doing it this way. Hinduism honors the divine in many ways. You notice how it's growing because of the word wrapping. And almost every day a religious celebration is being held in some part of India. 16 religious holidays are honored by the central government so that everyone can leave work to join in the throngs of worshippers. The holidays are calculated partially on a lunar calendar. Dates vary from year to year. Most Hindu festivals express spirituality in its happiest aspects. Group energy attracts the gods to overcome evils, and humorous abandon helps merrymakers to forget their fears. Festivals. Places where great saints and teachers have lived also automatically become places of pilgrimage during their lives and after they pass on. It is felt that their powerful vibrations still permeate and bless the sites. One such place is the holy mountain of Arunachala in southern India. The great Saint Ramana Maharishi lived there so absorbed in ultimate consciousness that he neither talked nor ate and had to be force-fed by another holy man. The needs of those who gathered around him drew out his compassion and wisdom, and he spontaneously counseled them on their spiritual needs. This is going to be a mixed up one, I bet you. Millions of Hindus undertake difficult pilgrimages to worship at mountain shrines every year. Pilgrimage spots on the Indian subcontinent are thought to mark abodes of the Janmashtami that are often celebrated. Yes, mixed up columns. I'll read it in the book. Pilgrimages to holy places and sacred rivers are thought to be special opportunities for personal purification and spiritual elevation. Many holy sites in India are associated with events in the epics and Puranas, and thus visiting them is a means of expressing devotion to the deities associated with the place. Shakta's trek to Shaktipithas 51. Yeah, these are things I'll have to go back for in the book. High dams are not the only threats to sacred rivers. Construction and waste dumping have polluted rivers even to the headwaters of the sacred Ganges, high in the Himalayas. Religious practices themselves may lead to high levels of water pollution. Mass bathing on auspicious occasions is accompanied by wastes such as bitter oil flowers and human excreta, contrary to scriptural injunctions about proper behavior in sacred rivers. The remains of dead bodies reverently immersed in the sacred rivers may be incompletely cremated. Immersion of images of Ganesh and Durga on holy days as a symbol of purification have become a major source of water pollution. 1 year alone, ritual immersion of idols in Kolkata added to the Hooghly River an estimated 17 tons of varnish and 32 tons of paints, which contained manganese, lead, mercury, and chromium. There are now efforts in many Indian cities to use more environmentally friendly materials for religious objects. That would be smart. But money's involved, so I think these are going to be scrambled columns. Maybe not. Not only forests, but also hilltops, mountains, and river sources are often viewed as sacred, and their natural environment is thus protected to a certain extent. Water is revered for its life-sustaining and purifying force. Most Indian rivers, most famously the Ganges, are regarded as goddesses. The Narmada River is one of India's most sacred. Its banks are lined with thousands of temples devoted to Mother Narmada and Lord Shiva. Pilgrims reverently circumambulate the entire 815-mile length of the river, from its source in central India to its mouth in the Gulf of Khambhat, and back again. However, the river and its huge watershed are subjects of the world's largest water development scheme. The highest of the dams is under construction, creating a reservoir with a final proposed height of over 450 feet. The reservoir is filled, some 245 villages will be submerged. Well, that's not good. Temples and all. The idea is to capture the water and divert it to drought-ridden areas to benefit the people there. Yet the inhabitants of the watershed that will be inundated are closely linked to their local sacred landscape. One of them explains, "Our gods cannot move from this place. How can we move without them?" Fierce conflicts have been raging since 1980-1990 between environmentalists and social activists who are fighting at the high dams, claiming they will adversely affect at least 1 million people in the watershed for the sake of vested interests elsewhere. In modernist regard, such high dams, as Nehru said, as the secular temples of modern India. Wow. Okay. Getting there. Okay, this one is worshipping under trees. Unfortunately, this one's messed up. I'll have to read it in the book. Many expressions of Indian spirituality, particularly in rural areas, are not encapsulated within a Brahmanic traditions, but rather have a timeless existence of their own. Such, for instance, are the homemade designs daily laid out before homes at dawn. They are created by women to protect their household by inviting a deity such as the goddess Lakshmi. Typically made of edible substances such as rice flour, the designs are soon dismantled by insects and birds. But that is no concern, for they will help fulfill the dharmic requirement that one should feed 1,000 souls every day. Feed 1,000 souls every day. I like that. Is that for real? Really? That is interesting. Oh boy. This one's probably messed up. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. It's an interview with, I'll read that in the book. In addition to public puja ceremonies conducted by pandits, home puja is an important aspect of Hindu life. Nearly every Hindu home in India has a shrine with pictures or small statues of various deities. Many have a prayer room set aside for worship. For puja, ritual purity is emphasized. Time for prayer and offerings to the deities is after the morning bath or before one has washed in the evenings. Puja is an everyday observance. Ooh. Death ceremonies are also carried out by fire, as the body is cremated soon after death, carefully washed, rubbed with fragrant sandalwood paste, and dressed in fresh clothes. It is wrapped in white sheets and carried on a wooden stretcher to a burning ground. Male relatives and well-wishers place flowers on the shrouded body, and then logs are stacked around it to make a fierce fire. Pandits may chant Vedic verses designed to cleanse it and assist with the soul's release from the body and its passage to the spiritual realm. The senior mourner, usually the eldest surviving son, carries a clay pot of water around the body 3 times, gradually pouring out the water, and dashes the pot to the ground, a dramatic and emotional moment, signifying the end of the earthly body. I like that. It is also he who then lights the pyre. Alternately, the shrouded body may be placed in an electric crematorium. Once the burning of the body is complete, survivors take the remaining bits of bone and ash for ritual immersion in the waters of a holy river. Oh, getting there. I knew this was a long chapter. Ritual fire ceremonies around a havam, or sacred fireplace, are also conducted by Brahmin pandits, teacher scholars, following ancient Vedic traditions. The Vedic practice principle of sacrifice is based on the idea that generous offerings to a deity would be rewarded. Fruits, fragrances, and mixtures of herbs and grains and ghee are placed in the fire as offerings to the deities, invoked and praised by chants, with offerings conveyed by Agni, the god of fire. According to Vedic science, fire is a medium of purification and transformation, and Havan, as the ritual is also called, is expected to purify the environment and the participants. Such havens may be conducted in celebration of a particular deity, or at the behest of a patron for the sake of his health and good fortune. It is thought that the subtle essences of these things given in devotion are actually absorbed by the divine in an invisible and rather mystical process. It's as though we are feeding our God in an inner kind of way. It's thought that if this is done properly with the right spirit, the right heartfulness, the right mantras, that we capture the attention of the personal Lord, and that he may actually communes with us through that process, and we with him. Of course, when I say us and him, I connotate a dualism that is meant to be transcended in this process. Okay, it's getting there. This is very interesting. It's just long. Ugh. And I don't know what details I'm going to be quizzed on. Loving service to the divine makes it real and present. This is why I'm doing it this way. And then I'm going to read it downwards by myself in the textbook itself. Loving service to the divine makes it real and present. The statue is not just a symbol for the deity. Deity may be experienced through the statue, reciprocating the devotee's attentions, according to Swami Bellini. This one's probably messed up. Called. Oh, maybe not. In temples, the deity image is treated as if it were a living king or queen. Fine-haired whisks may be waved before it, purifying the area for its presence. Aesthetically pleasing meals are placed on the deity's own dishes at appropriate intervals. Fruits must be perfect without any blemishes. During visiting hours, the deities hold court, giving audience to devotees. In the morning, the image is ritually bathed and dressed in sumptuous clothes for the day. At night, it may be put to rest in bedclothes. If it is hot, the deity takes a nap in the afternoon. The arrangements are made for its privacy. At festivals, the deity is carefully paraded through the streets. In Puri's Ratha, two of the huge chariots of the and the Utra huge cows of pull. And then this is mixed up. Okay. What? Public worship, puja, is usually performed by pujaris or Brahmin priests, typically male, who are trained in the Vedic practices and improper recitation of Sanskrit texts. They conduct worship ceremonies in which the sacred presence is made tangible through devotions employing all the senses. Shiva lingams may be anointed with precious substances, such as ghee, clarified butter, honey, or sandalwood paste, with offerings of rosewater and flowers. In a temple, devotees may have the great blessing of receiving darshan, visual contact with the divine, through the eyes of the images. The cosmos is viewed as a vibrational field, and thus the chanting of mantras, the blowing of a conch shell, and the ringing of bells creates vibrations thought to have positive effects. Incense and flowers fill the area with uplifting fragrances. Prasad, food that has been sacrificed by being offered to the deities and or one's guru, is passed around to be eaten by devotees who experience it as sacred and spiritually charged. This I think will be messed up, but I'll try it. I think it's a quote from Ramakrishna. When seekers find their guru, they love and honor him or her as their spiritual parent. The guru does not always behave as a loving parent. Often disciples are treated harshly, to test their faith and devotion or to strip away the ego. True devotees are nevertheless grateful for opportunities to serve their guru out of love. They often bend to touch his or her feet, partly out of humility and partly because great power is thought to emanate from a guru's feet. Humbling oneself before the guru is considered necessary in order to receive the teaching. The metaphor commonly used is that of a cup and a pitcher of water. If the cup, the disciple or chela, is already full, no water, spiritual wisdom can be poured into it from the pitcher, the guru. Likewise, if the cup is at the same level as the pitcher, there can be no pouring. What is necessary is for the cup to be empty. Deity images are often worshipped below the pitcher, and the water can be freely poured into the cup by waving trays of oil lamps beside them. Okay, these are messed up columns. Anyone and everyone cannot be a guru. A huge timber floats in the water and can carry animals as well, but a piece of worthless wood stinks. If a man sits on it and drowns him. Nearly every practicing Hindu seeks to place himself or herself at the feet of a spiritual leader or guru. The title guru is applied to venerable spiritual guides. Gurus do not declare themselves as teachers. People are drawn to them because they have achieved spiritual status to which the seekers aspire. Gurus are often regarded as enlightened or fully realized individuals. A guru does not provide academic instruction. Rather, he or she gives advice, example, and encouragement to those seeking enlightenment or realization. I'm going to be right back. Back. Maybe. all the million viewers I got here. Okay. Was a little longer than 4 minutes. I spilled some coffee. Uh, who wants to read me read a textbook backwards? Well, it's paragraph by paragraph. Going hoping it sets up familiarity for me. Mostly it's to hold my attention. It's reading top to bottom is so dull. In this way, maybe I can hold the paragraphs as chunks, which is what's needed when you're doing quizzes. They know they care about all the little details that. Okay. For a woman, the ideal stages of life are that's loud. For a woman, ideal stages of life are daughter, wife, and if her husband should die before her, widow. What are we at here? 1 hour and 30 minutes. Wow. The woman is to be protected first by her father, then her husband, and then her eldest son. Brahmanic Hinduism does not advocate that women become sannyasins, but today an estimated 15% of the renouncers in India are female. While classical Hindu texts do not fully detail women's religious obligations, Hindu women are actively involved in a wide range of religious ceremonies. The majority of contemporary Hindu males do not actually follow this path of 4 periods, but many Hindus still become sannyasins. Some of them have renounced the world at a younger age and have joined a monastic order, living in an ashram, a retreat community that has developed around a teacher. Living as a renunciate, the sannyasin is a contemplative who cuts himself off from wife and family, declaring, "No one belongs to me and I belong to no one." Some sannyasins take up residence in comfortable temples. Others wander alone with only a water jar, a walking staff, and a begging bowl as possessions. Some of them wear no clothes. In silence, the sannyasin is supposed to concentrate on practices that will finally release him from samsara into cosmic consciousness. A Brahmin male's lifespan was ideally divided into 4 periods of approximately 25 years each. First 25 years, he is a chaste student at the feet of a teacher. Next comes the householder stage, during which he is expected to marry, raise a family, and contribute productively to society. After this period, he starts to detach himself from worldly pursuits and turn to meditation and scriptural study. At the age of 75, he is able to withdraw totally from society and become a sannyasa. The process of attaining spiritual realization or liberation is thought to take okay, that's a messed up chapter. Oh, this is 2, I bet you. I'll have to read this separately. When a boy from an upper-class Hindu family reaches uh, okay, so we'll do that. Hinduism also holds up 4 major goals that define the good life. One is dharma, or carrying out one's responsibilities or duties. For the sake of social and cosmic order. A second is artha, or success in worldly activities, including the pursuit of wealth and advantage. A third is kama, which refers to love and sensual pleasure. and also to aesthetic expression. Many other religious paths regard eroticism as an impediment to spiritual progress, but the Mahabharata proposes that the Dharma and Artha both arise from Kama, because without desire and creativity there is no striving. The fourth and ultimate goal of life is moksha, or liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. So, we have to memorize. Dharma, duty. Artha, advantage. Artha, wealth. Kama, love. The Kama Sutra. Yeah, that's right. And then moksha, liberation. Moksha. I'll have to watch some videos about these, I think. Should. Hospitality to human guests is a duty for people of all castes. To turn someone away from your door without feeding them, or at least offering them a drink of water, is a great sin. For every person is the deity incarnate. Ceremonies are often held for making offerings to a deity and feeding the public. Head of the household may, towards the end of his life, engage the services of a number of Brahmins to help complete the requisite 24 million repetitions of the during his lifetime. Beggars take advantage of belief in sacrifice by saying that those who give to them will be blessed, but the most important sacrifices are considered to be inner sacrifices, giving of one's entire self over to the supreme reality. Castes. Division of labor, represented by the Varnas, is part of Hinduism's strong emphasis on social duties and sacrifice of the individual desires for the sake of social order. Vedas, other scriptures, and historical customs have all conditioned the Indian people to accept their social roles. These were set but in religious texts such as the Code of Manu, and it are laws governing all aspects of life, including the proper conduct of rulers, dietary restrictions, marriage laws, daily rituals, purification rites, social laws, and ethical guidance. It prescribed hospitality to guests at the cultivation of virtues such as contemplation, truthfulness, compassion, non-attachment, generosity, pleasant dealings with people, and self-control. It condemned, quote, untouchables, quote, to living outside villages, eating only from the broken dishes. On the other hand, the code proposed charitable giving as a sacred duty of the upper castes, and thus provided a safety net for those at the bottom of this hierarchical system. Now, and common practice did not necessarily follow the religious. Oh. Caste distinctions are now being treated as a human rights issue. Since 1935, under British rule, there have been measures to reserve special quotas in government jobs and politics for those of scheduled castes, lists of the lowest jatis subject to discrimination, the former untouchables. Many religious groups and social welfare organizations have tried to eliminate discriminatory practices based on caste divisions. Theories of the origins of caste divisions are being hotly debated by scholars in India and abroad. Numerous Dalit Hindus have converted to Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam, religions that do not recognize caste differences. A highly educated Dalit leader, Dr. B. R. Ambedkar, became chairman of the drafting committee for the Indian Constitution, and independent India's first law minister, and was instrumental in getting anti-discrimination clauses written into their constitution. He inspired Dalits to get better education, and shortly before his death, he led 500,000 untouchable Hindus to convert to Buddhism. Oh, how interesting. I bet that went over well. In 1948, the stigma of untouchability was legally abolished. Although many caste distinctions still linger in modern India, marriage across Varna lines, for example, is still usually disapproved of. And families typically try to maintain jati endogamy when arranging marriages. And okay, I'll have to read about that separately. Another long one. The Varna seem to date back to the Vedic age. Because the Vedic sacrifices were a reciprocal communion with the gods, priests who performed the public sacrifices had to be carefully trained and maintain high standards of ritual purity. Those who trained, the Brahmins, comprised a special occupational group. The orderly working of society included a clear division of labor among 4 occupational groups, which later became entrenched as hereditary castes. These untouchable categories applied to men. Women were automatically associated with their fathers or husbands, Varna. The Brahmins were the priests and philosophers, specialists in the life of the spirit. The next group, later called Kshatriyas, were the nobility of feudal India, kings, warriors, and vassals. Their general function was to guard and preserve the society. They were expected to be courageous and majestic, so they were cops. Vaishyas were the economic specialists, farmers and merchants. The Shudras were the manual laborers and artisans. Lower than the original 4 Varnas were these outcasts, who came to be considered untouchables. They carried out such work as removing human waste and corpses, sweeping streets, and working with leather from the skins of dead cows, occupations which made their bodies and clothing abhorrent to others. Over time, Vedic religion was increasingly controlled by the Brahmins, and contact between castes was limited. Varna membership became hereditary. The caste system became a significant aspect of Indian life, although many Hindus questioned its rules, particularly with respect to spiritual capabilities. Many medieval Bhakti poets of low caste challenged the restrictions that kept them out of temples, asserting that the gods accepted severe devotion, even from those of lowest status. Since the 19th century, many Hindu leaders and groups have challenged and rejected caste distinctions. Mahatma Gandhi renamed the lowest caste Harijans, the children of God. Finding this designation condescending, a segment of this population are pressing for a better status and opportunities now refer to themselves as Dalits, oppressed. Life in India continues to be shaped to a considerable extent by hierarchies and inequalities derived from jati, thousands of groups denoted by shared geographical origin, language, food, practices, common customs and beliefs, occupations, and adogamy. Marriage only within their group. Jati would be like nations. Okay. And Varna, a more general, traditional fourfold division of labor that ultimately became hereditary. Both aspects of this complex situation are precisely referred to by the English word caste. Although there is no single founder, devotional tradition, or philosophy that can be said to define Hinduism, everyday life is so imbued with spiritually meaningful aspects that spirituality is never far from one's mind. Those we will examine here include rituals, caste, and social duties, life stages, homage to the guru, rituals, fasting, prayer, auspicious designs, reverence paid to trees and rivers, pilgrimages, and religious festivals. What is puja? The Hindu way of life. As long as the eye sense lasts, so long are true knowledge and liberation impossible. How can very few attain this union, samadhi, and free themselves from this I? It is very rarely possible. Talk as much as you want, isolate yourself continuously, still this I will always return to you. Cut down the poplar tree today, and you will find tomorrow it forms new shoots. When you ultimately find that this I cannot be destroyed, Let it remain as I, the servant. Good advice. Thank you, Saint Ramakrishna. In the bhakti path, even though the devotee may not transcend the ego in samadhi, the devotee's whole being is surrendered by the deity in love. 19th century Saint Ramakrishna explained why the bhakti way is more appropriate for most people. So you keep the eye, just I see, subjugated. Eventually, Krishna is called away on a heroic mission, never returning to the gopis. Their grief at his leaving and their intense longing for him serve as models for the bhakti path, a way of extreme devotion. In Hindu thought, the emotional longing of the lover for the beloved is one of the most powerful vehicles for concentration on the Supreme Lord. Traditional bhakti narratives are rich in earthly pleasures. The boy Krishna mischievously steals balls of butter from the neighbors and wanders garlanded with flowers through the forest, happily playing his flute with the neighbors' balls of butter and his garlands. Between the episodes of carefree bravery in vanquishing demons that threaten the people, he playfully steals the hearts of the gopis, the cowherd girls. His favorite is the lovely Radha, but through his magical ways, he multiplies himself so that each girl thinks he dances with her alone. Each is so much in love with Krishna that she feels she is the one for him and desires only to serve him. Swami Vivekananda explains the spiritual meaning of the gopis' divine love for Krishna, which is too holy to be attempted without giving up everything, too sacred to be understood until the soul has become pure, perfectly pure. Even the Gita, the great philosophy itself, does not compare with that madness, for it is the Gita the disciple is taught slowly how to walk towards the goal. But here is the madness of enjoyment, the drunkenness of love, where disciples and teachers and teachings and books, everything has been thrown away. What remains is the madness of love. It is forgetfulness of everything, and the lover sees nothing in the world except the Krishna and Krishna alone. He is my husband and my lover, and my mind at his feet forever. When Marabi continued to spend all her time in devotions to Krishna, the infuriated in-law tried to poison her. It is said that Marabi drank the poison, the love between Radha. Okay, it's all screwed up. Everything perishes: sun, moon, earth, sky, water, wind, everything. Only the one indestructible remains. Others get drunk on distilled wine, and love's still I distill mine. What? That rhymed. Day and night I'm drunk on it, and my lover's love ever sunk. I'll not remain at my mother's home. I'll stay with Krishna alone. Oh, it's supposed to rhyme. Mirabai, a 15th century princess, was married to a ruler at a young age. But from her childhood she was hopelessly and utterly devoted to the deity Krishna. Her poetry expressed her single-minded love for the beloved. As milk is dear to the baby, and as the torrent of rain to the mouth of the sparrowhawk who drinks nothing but raindrops, and as water is dear to the fish, so is the Lord to my soul. As the sun is dear to the sheldrake, and the lake of the man sword to the swan, and the husband is dear to the wife, so is the God to my soul. Excuse me. As the rain is dear to the earth, and as the fragrance of flowers is dear to the black bee, as the mango is dear to the cuckoo, so is the Lord to my soul. I like this. Thy name is beautiful, thy form is beautiful, and very beautiful is thy love, O my omnipresent Lord. Bhakti Yogi, the final type of spiritual path, is the one embraced by most Hindus. It is a path of devotion to a personal deity, Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti devotee, the relationship is that of intense love. Bhaktinam Dev described as deep love and sweet metaphors. I see. Karma yoga, in contrast to these ascetic and contemplative practices. Another way is that of helpful action in the world. Karma yoga is service rendered without any interest in its fruits or results, and without giving any personal sense of giving. The yogi knows the Absolute performs all actions, and that all actions are gifts to the Absolute. This consciousness leads to liberation of the self in the very midst of work. In the jnana path, the seeker must also develop spiritual virtues: calmness, restraint, renunciation, resignation, concentration, and faith, and have an intense longing for liberation. The ultimate wisdom is the spiritual rather than intellectual knowledge of the self. After negating all of these above-mentioned, quote, not this, that awareness which alone remains, that I am. The thought, who am I, will destroy all other thoughts, and like the stick used for stirring the burning pyre, it will itself in the end get destroyed. Then will arise self-realization. Oh, I like that. Jnana Yoga, the path of rational inquiry. Jnana Yoga employs the classical Indian music, is based rational. Oh, that's screwed up columns. Words and language are imperfect to describe this exalted state. Mind, intellect, and the senses cease functioning. It is a state of eternal bliss and eternal wisdom. All dualities vanish in toto. All visible merge into the invisible or the unseen. The individual soul becomes that which he contemplates. Yogis say it is easier to calm a wild tiger than it is to quiet the mind, which is like a drunken monkey that has been bitten by a place photo of yogic adept scorpion. Problem is the mind of the vehicle for knowing that. Okay, so mirror is disturbed. I'll have to read this separately, which is unfortunate, but yeah, it's all screwed up. From contentment comes the attainment of the highest happiness. From penance comes destruction of impurities. Thence the perfection of the body and the senses. From study comes communion with the desired deity. Found meditation upon Ishvara comes success and spiritual absorption. That's it. Raha Yoga. Some believe that the sadhanas or practices of Raha Yoga were known as long as the Neolithic age and were practiced in the Indus Valley culture. By 200 BCE, a yogi named Patanjali, or perhaps a series of people taking the same name, had described a system for attaining the highest consciousness through Raja Yoga, path of mental concentration. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is a book of 196 terse sayings called sutras. It includes such observations as, sages distinguished four basic types of people and developed yogic practices which are particularly suitable for each type, in order that each can attain the desired union with the self. For meditative people, there is Raja Yoga, the path of mental concentration. For rational people, there is Jnana Yoga, the path of rational inquiry. For natural active people, there is Karma Yoga, the path of right action. For emotional people, there is Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. This is very nice and handy. And that's, yeah, very good. Look at you. Wow, thousands. It was 1,700 lines before. From ancient times, the people of the Indian subcontinent have practiced spiritual disciples designed to clear the mind and support a state of serene, detached awareness. Practices for developing this desired state of balance, purity, wisdom, and peacefulness of mind are known collectively as yoga. Yoke or union, referring to union with the true self. The goal described in the Upanishads. While to many Westerners the term yoga may evoke images of stretches and poses, the form of yoga developed in India involved a lot more yoga. In recent times, some Hindu thinkers have advocated an approach called Neo-Vedanta, arguing that while many Hindus approach the ultimate reality through worship of various gods and goddesses, at its pinnacle, Hindu practice aims towards recognition of one's union with the singular supreme Brahman. That which makes us think the physical universe has its own reality is Maya, power by which the absolute veils itself. Maya is the illusion that the true world we perceive is not the true world. Maya is the illusion that the world as we perceive it is real. Is real. Is the illusion that the world. Okay. It's so Maya's illusion. Shankara uses the metaphor of a coil of rope that at dusk it is mistaken for a snake. The physical world like the rope does not actually exist, but we superimpose our memories and subjective thoughts upon it. Moreover, he says, only that which never changes is truly real. Everything else is changing and pertinent. In ignorance, we think that we exist as individuals, superimposing the notion of a separate ego self on the underlying absolute reality of pure being, pure consciousness, pure bliss. It's a mistake to identify with the body or the mind, which exist, but have no unchanging reality. The person reaches transcendent consciousness, the oneness of reality is experienced. Okay, I am familiar with this. Advaita, non-dualist. Vedanta is generally monistic, positing a single reality. It is Kundalini Yoga. Body is based on the Upanishads. Its founder is said to be Vyasa. Systematizer of the is thought to exist within the Vedas. The eminent philosopher Shankara reorganized the teachings many set. Oh, it's two columns stuck together. Actually, that looks very interesting. I will get to it. The highly analytical Samkhya system holds that the material universe consists of three essential qualities. They are the sattva, rajas, and tamas. Interaction and tension between the equilibrium of sattva, the activity of rajas, and the resistance of actions of tamas govern the development of the world. The interaction of these qualities is a key factor in some Indian systems of diet meditation. The Samkhya system, though undateable, is thought to be the oldest in India. Its founder is said to be the semi-mythical sage Kapila. Its principles appear in Jainism and Buddhism from the 6th century BCE, so the system probably dated them and as a pre-Vedic origin. That's Samkhya. Two other major philosophical systems born in India, Jainism and Buddhism, do not acknowledge the authority of the Vedas, but nevertheless draw on many of the same currents as Hinduism. Prominent among the philosophical systems that are related to the Vedas are Samkhya, Advaita, Vedanta, and Yoga, which I'll have to memorize the differences of. I'm sure of it. 3. All hold that the ultimate cause of suffering is people's ignorance of the self, which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, perfect, and eternal. 2. All hold ethics to be central to orderly social life. They attribute suffering to the law of karma, thereby suggesting incentives to more ethical behavior. All have deep roots in the Vedas and other scriptures, but are also in direct personal experiences of the truth through meditation. In addition to the Vedas and texts such as the epics and Puranas, elaborate philosophical systems were developed long ago in India. Those associated with Brahmic Hindu tradition all have certain features in common. What are the three most prominent philosophical systems related to the Vedas? Major philosophical systems. Popular devotion to Krishna takes many forms. Krishna is regarded as the transcendent Supreme Lord. The worshipper humbly lowers himself for his self. Krishna is seen as master, the devotee is a servant. Krishna is loved as a child, the devotee takes the role of loving parent. Krishna is the divine friend, the devotee is the friend. And if Krishna is the beloved, the devotee is the lover. The later relationship was popularized by the ecstatic 16th century Bengali saint, scholar, and social reformer Sri Chaitanya, who adored Krishna as the flute-playing lover. Following Sri Chaitanya, the devotee makes himself, if male, like a loving female, in order to experience the bliss of Lord Krishna's presence. It is this form of Hindu devotion that was carried to America in 1965 organized as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Oh, interesting. Oh, Hare Krishnas. Oh, well, I'll be darned. Hare Krishnas. That's sweet. Okay. Vishnu has been worshipped since Vedic times and came to be regarded as supreme as a person. In Vaishnava iconography, the world is continuously being reborn on a lotus growing out of Vishnu's navel. Vishnu is often associated with his consort, Lakshmi, whom Shaktas worship as a goddess in her own right. According to the ideas appearing by the 4th century CE, Vishnu is considered to have appeared in many earthly incarnations, some of them animal forms. Many deities have been drawn into this complex, in which they are interpreted as incarnations of Vishnu. Some most beloved of this purported incarnations has been Rama, subject of the Ramayana. Krishna. However, many people still revere Krishna without reference to Vishnu. Vishnu is beloved as the tender, merciful deity. In one myth, a sage is sent to determine who was the greatest of the gods by trying their tempers. First to the Brahma and Shiva, he insulted and was soundly abused in return. When he found Vishnu, the god was sleeping. Knowing of Vishnu's good-naturedness, the sage increased the insult by kicking him awake. Instead of reacting angrily, Vishnu tenderly massaged the sage's foot, concerned that he may have hurt it. The sage exclaimed, "This god is the mightiest. He overpowers all by goodness and generosity." Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. Shiva and Parvati's son Ganesh, a deity with the head of an elephant, guards the threshold of space and time, and is therefore invoked for his blessings at the beginning of any new venture. Ganesh was also the subject of an extraordinary event that happened in temples in many parts of India, as well as in Hindu temples in the other parts of the world. On September 21st, 1995, I remember that, devotees reported that statues of Ganesh began drinking milk from spoons, cups, and even buckets offered by devotees. Scientists suggested explanations such as mass hysteria or capillary action in the stone. However, the phenomena lasted only one day. Why chant the Vedas? Hear the Shastra's lore. Releases theirs and theirs alone, whose heart from thinking the Lord shall never depart. Another branch is represented by the 63 great Shiva saints of Tamil Nadu and southern India, who the 7th century CE onward expressed great love for Shiva. They experienced him as the luminous one, present everywhere in subtle form, but apparent only to those who love him. In this realization, knowledge of the scriptures and ascetic practices are useless. Only direct personal devotion will do. Be right back. I'm at Lingam. Oh, gosh. Worship of a lingam is honoring Shiva as the unmanifest creative force beyond space and time. Water constantly drips in the Shiva lingam to cool it. Lingam in remembrance of Shiva as the one undivided being. Oh, that's all screwed up. So Shivism. Shaivism encompasses traditions that have developed outside of Vedic-based Brahmanism. It includes sects such as the Lingayats, who wear a stone. These lingams, I'm getting tired, used in worship of Shiva are naturally occurring or sculpted cylindrical forms honored since antiquity in India, as far away as Hawaii. Those shaped by nature such as stones polished by certain rivers, are the most highly valued, with rare natural crystal lingams considered especially precious. Tens of thousands of devotees each year undergo dangerous pilgrimages to certain high mountain caves to venerate large lingams, naturally formed of ice. While these lingams sometimes resembles an erect phallus, most Shiva worshippers focus on its symbolic meaning, which is abstract and asexual. They see the lingam as a nearly amorphous, formless symbol for the manifest, transcendent nature of Shiva, that which is beyond space, time, cause, and form, whereas the yoni represents the manifest aspect. Oh, Shiva, god of yogis, masculine, Mount Kailash, tiger skin, snake, feminine, neck. Shiva swallows the poison that threatens the world with Shiva at the Lord of the Dance, darkness, neutralizing poison by the power of his meditation, trampling the demon of evil, and bearing both the flame of Shiva has various Shaktis, often shown with destruction and drum. Oh, this is a grid of columns. Okay. Shiva is a personal, many-faceted manifestation of the attributeless supreme deity. In older systems, he is one of the three major aspects of deity: Brahma, creator; Vishnu, preserver; and Shiva, destroyer. Creator, preserve, destroy. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Creator, preserver, destroyer. Brahma, creator; Vishnu, preserver. Shiva, destroyer. Shiva, destroyer. Brahma, creator; Vishnu, preserver. Vishnu, preserver. Brahma, creator; Shiva, destroyer. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, creator, preserver, destroyer. Destroyer, preserver, creator. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma. Best I can do. Shivas nevertheless worship him as the totality with many aspects. As Swami Sivasiva Palani, Shiavite editor of Hinduism Today, explains, Shiva is the unmanifest. He is the creator, preserver, destroyer, personal lord, friend, primal soul. And he is the all-pervasive underlying energy, more or less impersonal love and light, which flows through all things. Shiva is sometimes depicted dancing above the body of the demon he has killed, reconciling darkness and light, good and evil, creation and destruction, rest and activity, and the eternal dance of life. Feminist scholars are particularly interested in the significance of reverence for Shakti. Many see this belief cluster as a positive valuation of the feminine that has potential to empower women, even though the lives of many poor women in India are not free. Others see wider philosophical implications that have not yet been fully explored, in which the fullness of the feminine principle includes Prakriti, the natural, material world of the universe; Shakti, the creative power that pervades it; and Maya, the ever-changing, differentiating, and self-veiling qualities of the omnipresent unity. Prakriti, Shakti, Maya. Shakti worship has also been incorporated into worship of the male gods. Each is thought to have a female consort with which he is often portrayed in close embrace, signifying the eternal unity of male and female principles and the oneness of the divine. Here the female is conceived as the life-animating force. The transcendent male aspect is inactive until joined with the productive female energy. The Pankatava ritual of the five elements. Ritual's conflation of the sacred and profane would be highly offensive to the Hindu sensitivity and when counter to all normative models of purity and impurity, sanctity and desecration in the Hindu consciousness. It seems that the element of shock inherent in the ritual becomes itself a highly potent catalyst capable of catapulting the mind out of its familiar dualistic thought pattern into the realm of unity consciousness. By partaking of the five defiling things in the setting of the meditative ritual, the aspirant affirms their underlying purity and shatters the cognitive processes of the unenlightened mind that fractionalizes all life into the myriad brittle distinctions. No difference remains between the clean and the unclean, the sacred and the profane, purity and impurity. All phenomena take on the glow of divine power and presence. Interesting. In contrast to the ascetic forms of Hinduism that denigrate the material world as a... Oh, it's Tantra. Yes, Tantra. some more stuff I can't read, I don't think. Another popular goddess is Lakshmi, which embodies wealth, generosity, good fortune, beauty, and charm. She's often depicted as a radiant woman sitting at the water-borne lotus flower. The lotus floats pristine on the water but has its roots in the mud, thus representing the refined spiritual energy that rises above worldly contamination. The goddess Saraswati is associated with knowledge, the arts, and music, and also with the great river Saraswati that once flowed parallel to the Indus River in the cradle of the Indus Valley civilization. The Saraswati River dried up long ago, possibly contributing to the decline of that ancient civilization. From ancient times, worship of the divine female has been associated with the worship of nature, particularly great trees and rivers. Ganges River is considered an especially sacred female presence, and her waters, flowing down from the Himalayas, are thought to be extraordinarily purifying. Pilgrims bathe in Mother Ganges waters, facing the sun at sunrise, and corpses of the cremated ashes of the dead are placed in the river so their sins will be washed away. The goddess is worshipped in many forms. At the village level, especially in southern India, local deities are typically worshipped as goddesses. They may not be perceived as taking human-like forms. Rather, their presence may be represented by round stones, trees, yantras, a linear image with complex cosmic symbolism, or small shrines without images. These local goddesses are intimately concerned with village affairs, unlike the more distant great goddesses of the upper classes, access to whose temples was traditionally forbidden by those of low caste. Sacred texts called tantras instruct worshippers how to honor the feminine divine according to practices that may have been existent since before 2500 BCE. Ways of worship include concentration on yantras, meditation with the hands and mudras, positions that reflect and invoke a particular spiritual reality, Kundalini practices to raise spiritual energy up the spine, and the use of mantras. One such text gives 1,000 different names or attributes to the Divine Mother, such as mantras for recitation, such as these: Srimati, she who is the auspicious mother; Sri Maharahini, she who is the empress of the universe; Rahasrva, she who is holding up the rope of love in her hand; Madanasani, she who destroys pride. She who is an egotism; Supreme Ganges River. Okay. I don't believe I'm being tested on this. Oh my gosh. Devi is known by many names and is thought to have many manifestations. Among them are benign, extremely powerful, and even fierce forms. Goddess Durga is often represented as a beautiful woman with a gentle face, with 10 arms holding weapons which she vanquishes the demons who threaten the Dharma. Lakshmi is often pictured; she rides a lion. She is the blazing splendor of standing gloriously upon a garden karna, benevolent female form, lotus flower, bestowing coins of prosperity, and flanked in Kali is a goddess. Okay, this is 2 columns screwed up. To the child and the mother is centered a whole world of tenderness, of love, nourishment, and of care. It is the ideal world from which one draws sustenance, where one draws for comfort, where one clings to protection and nourishment, and to get comfort, protection, and care. Therefore, the ideal of love, care, and protection is the conception of the mother. The general term Devi may be used to refer generically to the goddess in all her forms, understood as the supreme divine mother, the totality of all the energy of the cosmos. Sri Swami Sivana of the Divine Life Institute explains that it all may be quite natural to regard the divine as mother. An estimated 50 million Hindus worship some form of the goddess whose great power is called Shakti. Some Shaktis follow a Vedic path, some are more independent of Vedic tradition. Worship of the feminine aspect of the divine probably dates back to the pre-Vedic ancient peoples of the Indian subcontinent. The goddess may be worshipped both as a singular supreme being, representing the totality of deity, eternal creator, preserver, and destroyer, and as a figure who appears in multiple forms. The mythology of the goddess is related to many of the Puranas, and there are many multiple goddess traditions as well. Shaktas. How do the Shaktas, Shaivas, and Vaishnavas differ from the deities praised in the Vedas to those whose stories are narrated in the epics and Puranas? Countless regional and local deities, Hinduism has many ways of expressing the multifaceted nature of divinity. Among Hindus, there are three major groupings: Shaktas, who worship a mother goddess, the Shivas, who worship the god Shiva, and the Vaishnavas, who worship the god Vishnu. Each devotee has his or her chosen deity, but will honor others as well. The three groupings are not hard and fast boundaries. Ultimately, some Hindus rest their faith on one generalist deity with three basic aspects: creating, preserving, and destroying, and continuing cosmic cycles. Devotional traditions. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. How much do I have left? I don't know. This material universe that we know is only one of millions of material universes. Each is like a bubble in the eternal spiritual sky, arising from the pores of the body of Vishnu. Each of these bubbles is created and destroyed as Vishnu breathes out and in. Its cosmic conception is so vast that it is impossible for the mind to grasp it. It is much easier to comprehend and adore Vishnu, his incarnation as Krishna. Whereas he was a wise teacher in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna in the Bhagavad Purana is a much-loved child, raised by cowards in an area called so the Bhagavad Purana. His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas. Well, I'm sorry. I know I'm taking a while. And a sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and all kinds of sounds. In the Bhagavad Purana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is portrayed first in its vast dimensions, being whose body animates the material universe. I like the Bhagavad Purana. Vedas ended up in Chand by giving them concrete form. Of the Puranas, the most well-known and loved is the Bhagavad Purana, which includes the life story of Krishna. Most Western Indiologists think of it was written about the 9th or 10th century CE. According to Indian tradition, it was one of the works written down at the beginning of the Kali Yuga by Puranas are an ancient compendium of mythological narratives on the origins of the cosmos, life, deities, and humanity. Stories of legendary or canonical heroes and the actions of divine beings. Theology is often implicit in the Puranic stories. Major Puranas are based on the theologies of Vishnu, Shiva, and Shakti expressed through complex narratives. They are probably compiled between 500 and 1500 CE. There are a total of 18 major Puranas, 6 about Vishnu, 6 about Brahma, and 6 about Shiva. These narratives popularized the more abstract philosophical teachings found in the Vedas. I'm determined, but I don't know. Krishna says that everything springs from his being. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me. As pearls are strung on a thread, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable on Om in Vedic mantras. I am the sound of ether and the ability in man. All states of being, goodness, passion, or ignorance are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material universe, the nature. The Supreme Godhead is not apparent to most mortals. Deity can be known only by those who love him, and for them it is easy, for they remember him at all times. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that as an offering to me. Any small act of devotion offered in love becomes a way to him. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I admit myself millennium after millennium. Whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice, dharma, and a predominant rise in irreligion, at that time I descend myself. This yogic science of transcending the quote lower self by the quote higher self is so ancient that Krishna says that it was originally given to the sun god and through his agents to humans, but in time it was lost, and Krishna is now renewing his instructions pertaining to that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme. Teaches true religion. Lord Krishna and Arjuna discuss profound philosophical questions in a battle chariot, as represented in this archway above the sacred Ganges River. Actually, Krishna says that those who do everything for the love of the Supreme transcend the notion of duty. Everything they do is offered to the Supreme without desire for gain and free from egoism and lethargy. Thus they feel peace, freedom from earthly entanglements, and unassailable happiness. Before they plunge into battle, Krishna instructs Arjuna in the arts of self-transcendence and realization of the eternal. The instructions are still central to Hindu spiritual practice. Arjuna is enjoined to withdraw his attention from the impetuous demands of the senses, ignoring all feelings of attraction and or aversion. This will give him a steady, peaceful mind. He is instructed to offer devotional service and to perform the prescribed Vedic sacrifices, but for the sake discipline, duty, and example alone rather than a reward. To abandon all attachment to success or failure, renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. The 18th book of the Mahabharata, which may have originally been an independent mystical poem, is the Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Supreme Exalted One. Krishna, reserved as a manifestation of the Supreme, appears as the charioteer of Arjuna, who is preparing to fight on the virtuous side of a battle that will pit family members against one another, thus occasioning a treatise about the conflict that may arise between our earthly duties and our spiritual aspirations. Idealized characters in the Ramayana show sides of human nature, including greed, lust, intrigue, and desire for power. It is thought to be relevant for all times and all peoples. Serial dramatization of the has drawn huge television audiences in contemporary India. The teaches one primary ethic, that the happiness of others is essential to one's own happiness. This consideration of others before oneself is central dharmic value. My goodness. The Monkey Chief. I'll have to read that later. Mahabharata. The other famous Hindu epic is the Mahabharata, a Sanskrit poem of more than 100,000 verses. Perhaps partly historical, it may have been composed between 400 and 400. The plot concerns the struggle between the sons of a royal family for control of a kingdom near which is now Delhi. The story teaches the importance of sons, duty, kinship, and the benefits of ascetic practice and righteous action, and the qualities of the gods. Oh, so tempting to just stop. 3,000 lines. What are we at? 2 hours and 30 minutes. Holy macaroni. O Lord of my being, I realize you and me and you. Cheetah is kidnapped. I need to see cartoons of this, I think. Rama and Lakshman, breast of the demon Ravana. These are illustrations. The Ramanya, a long poetic narrative. Lord Valmiki acted with great pageantry. Vishnu, son's duty is to always obey parents. Ramanya, epics deal with the eternal play of good and evil, symbolized by battles involving the human incarnations of Vishnu. I'm about to stop. How much is left? Okay, keep going. Each of these lengthy cycles witnesses the same turns of events. The balance shifts from the true Dharma to dissolution, back to the Dharma. Society reaches a stage that property confers rank, wealth becomes the only source of virtue, passion the sole bond of union, falsehood the source of success, and yeah, okay. Dharma, moral order, and people's duty to act as natural. Second age, the cow on 3 legs. Two great epics, the Ramayana and the Vishnu. Oh my God. Ages or yugas. Oh, I see. We're in a Kali Yuga period. Hindu mind is averse to assigning an unalterable or rigidly fixed form or name to the deity. Hence it is that in Hinduism we have innumerable god forms, countless divine names. It is a truth that it is recognized by all Hindus that duty offered to any of these forms reaches the one supreme God. In contrast to the rather abstract depictions of the ultimate reality in the Upanishads, the epics and Puranas represented as a supreme being. Personal love, flowered Vedas, epics and Puranas, historical narratives, useful in spreading Hindu teaching at a time where Buddhism and Jainism were winning. Ancient Vedic times, fire sacrifice rituals held by Brahmins, verbal formulas, sacred chants used by the priests to invoke Brahma, the all-pervading reality. Breath behind all existence. Bhakti, intense devotion to a personal manifestation of Brahman, became the heart of Hinduism. The ultimate goal is not creation of good lives by good deeds, but a clean escape from the karma run wheel of birth, death, and rebirth, or samsara. To escape from samsara is to achieve moksha, or liberation from the limitations of space, time, and matter, the realization of the ultimate reality. Many lifetimes of upward striving incarnations are required to receive to transcendence. Okay, underpinnings of classical Hinduism and Buddhism as well. Karma is an important related concept, it means action and also the consequence. Okay. So we act, so he becomes. Yeah. Upanishad doctrines, reincarnation, what happens after we die. Soul leaves the body, enters a new one, again and again. One discovers the inner self, Atman, and thus also its source, Brahman. The self emerges into a transcendent source, and one experiences unspeakable peace and bliss. In the beginning there was existence alone, one only, without a second. He, the one, thought to himself, let me be many, let me grow forth. Thus out of himself he projected the universe, and having projected out of himself the universe, he entered into every being. All that he has is self and him alone. Of all things he is the subtle essence. He is the truth, the self, and that art thou. The joyous discovery of the Rishis was that they could find Brahman in the subtle self, soul, Atman within themselves. Vedic worship with fire is still significant. Fire ceremonies are significant. Invoke the blessings of the unseen. The Rishis, through the discovery of meditative practice leading to higher states of consciousness, experience the presence of an infinite reality beyond conventional awareness, as experienced through the five senses. The Rishis call this unseen but all-pervading ultimate reality Brahman, the unknowable. Other ancient Shruti texts include the Brahmanas, directions about performances of the ritual sacrifices to the deities, Aranyakas, forest treatises by sages who went to the forests to meditate as recluses, and Upanishads, teachings from highly realized spiritual masters. The principal Upanishads were thought to have been developed last around this time. They represent the mystical insights of Rishis who sought the ultimate unseen reality through their meditations in the forest. Many people consider these philosophical and metaphysical reflections cream of Indian thought, among the highest spiritual literature ever written. They were not taught to the masses, but rather reserved for ancient advanced seekers of spiritual truth. Emphasis is not placed, it's placed on inner experience. The Rig Veda is the first of our four collections of which the Vedas are comprised. The other three also contain hymns and sacred sounds to be recited while making offerings to the deities by means of a sacrificial fire. These sounds are thought to carry great power, based on the sound vibrations of which the cosmos is created. The oldest of the known Vedic scriptures, and among the oldest of the world's existing scriptures, is the Rig Veda. This praises and implores the blessings of the Devas, the controlling forces of the cosmos, deities who consecrate every part of life. The major Devas include Indra, the god of thunder, Agni, god of fire, Soma, the drink, and Ushas, goddess of dawn. Opaque earth gods, transparent deities of the sky and celestial realms. Beyond those variable aspects of the one seen reality. This reality beyond human understanding ceaselessly creates and sustains everything that exists, encompassing time, space, and causation. Om, the primordial creative sound. There's three words: earth, atmosphere, and heaven. Adoration of the glory, splendor, and grace that radiate from the divine light illuminates the three worlds. Vedas are thought to transcend human life, time, and are relevant today as they were 1,000 years ago. Gayatri chanted daily, the most sacred of prayers. Surya Deva, the Vedic god of the... Okay, that one's screwed up. We have a time scale. Yes, timeline. There are, however, similarities between the Indian families and religious practices, seals, and pottery. This is historical. The relationship of the Vedas to the Indus Valley sites is unclear. Indian subcontinent include areas politically separate from India, part of Pakistan now. Mumbai, India, Calcutta. Okay. Indus Valley. Linguistic similarities. No confirmed evidence of an Aryan invasion. Many threads. Dravidian peoples of India. Indus Valley civilization. The truth is one. Oh my gosh. The Brahmanic tradition can be traced back to the Vedic age, thousands of years ago. In villages where the majority of Indians live, worship of deities is diverse and does not necessarily follow the Brahmanic tradition or Hinduism. Can't trace them all. Extreme variations, reflections of its great age. Extremes. Okay. This labeling by non-Indians is a hotly debated issue. Now, discuss. Yeah, this was at the bottom. I should be able to do all these things. And I made it. 3699. I made it. In exactly 2 hours and 45 minutes. 2 hours and 45. Bye-bye.